Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well. If you are new here, my name is Amna and here on my channel I talk about all things books, but I also do some cozy vlog content as well and some lifestyle. So it's a little bit of everything here. But today's video is going to be on books to get you in or back into reading. I've been sent so many different messages lately here on booktube, on bookstagram, on BookTok, just people asking what are my best recommendations for people who want to get into reading, easy to read books that keep your attention. So seeing as it's something I think everyone wants to know, I thought I would make a video on it to make it so much easier for you. So I put together, I guess you could call a little starter pack for all you people who really want to get into reading but don't know where to begin. All the books I've chosen are of a different genre, so hopefully everyone can find something to their tastes. They're also books I believe are so easy to read, their plots are so engaging, and they have like a multitude of different tropes in, so there's something for everyone. I feel like if you are a beginner reader and you don't know what genre you like, it is going to be a lot of trial and error. I've been through it, avid readers have been through it. You've just got to read each genre and find which one is the one that clicks for you. Unfortunately, that does come with a lot of disappointment, a lot of not wanting to read it, but I can truly say once you find your genre and the one you like, it's the one that you will not be able to stop reading, so it makes things a lot easier. But if you're someone like me who just loves to read every single genre, you don't have a preference, these books I've chosen here I think you will absolutely love. They're books I've rated 5 stars, will never stop talking about, so I really believe you will absolutely devour them. Okay, enough yapping from me, I'm going to jump straight in and hopefully we can find you the books that make you want to become an avid reader. So I'm going to start with some young adult options. I think young adult books are great to start with if you're just getting into reading. They suck you in straight away, and they also mostly have short chapters in them, which in my opinion makes reading so much easier. So the Inheritance Game series is one I absolutely love. If you liked the movie Knives Out, this gives the exact same vibes. This is about a young girl who inherits a billionaire's fortune, however she's never met the billionaire. She ends up having to go to his estate where all of his outraged family are. There's like a little love triangle that happens between her and some of the grandsons of this person. The secrets to be uncovered, mysteries, why she was chosen. It's just so hooking. There is a fair few books to get through, however they are not long at all, and each book has a different thing to uncover in it. They all kind of end on a plot twist, so once you finish one you already want to be reading the other, so they're so easy to breeze through. Next is a young adult classic and an absolute favourite of loads of readers, and that's Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This book follows Liz, and she is obsessed with rom-coms. She's obsessed with finding true love and her fairy tale ending. Her childhood crush Michael ends up moving back to town, and he ends up becoming friends with her neighbour and old friend Wes. So she enlists Wes to make her a little bit more cool, a little bit more eye-catching for Michael, but in the process they end up fake dating to kind of make Michael jealous, but it all goes kind of wrong because Liz realises she actually likes spending time with Wes. This book is absolutely adorable. If you are a lover of rom-coms, I think you'll love this book. Each page starts with a quote from classic rom-coms. It feels so nostalgic. The story is so cute. It feels like a proper teenage high school romance. It also portrays the message that not everything in life is perfect like we believe it to be. It is just the best. The next young adult one is quite a popular one. If you haven't heard of it, you've probably heard of the Netflix show, and that is To All the Boys I Loved Before. This is about a girl called Lara Jean, and when she was younger she ended up writing loads of love notes to all of her crushes, and one day when she's in high school these notes mysteriously end up being sent out to these boys. I love this book. It's such a good, fun, relatable like high school romance book. It really follows all the trials and tribulations of high school, let alone finding a boyfriend. It's honestly just such a fun book. It will have you giggling and kicking your feet. It will make you feel nostalgic. It's just everything. Coming out of young adult books and more into adult romances, here is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. And Ashley Poston as an author is one I'll always recommend anyway. You could read any of her books, but this one I think would be such a good starter. This follows Florence, who is a ghostwriter for a famous romance author. Florence has just gone through the biggest breakup of her life and she no longer feels she can write a romance book. She is on a deadline though, so she asks her brand new editor, can she please have an extension? When he says no, she thinks her career is over. In the midst of this, tragedy strikes in her family, so she ends up having to head home, and when she's home she gets a knock on the door and she's surprised to see a ghost at her door. But not just any ghost, it is the ghost of her new editor. The more time they spend together trying to figure out what happened to him, sparks fly between them, and maybe he can convince her that love isn't really dead. This book is so different for a romance book. The concept is so interesting, it grips you right away. There's like plot twists in it. It's just amazing. Ashley Poston does a really good job in her romance books to always include like a magical, like supernatural element, but really subtly, so it makes it even more exciting to read because it's not like a same old romance book with the same old plot. It's honestly amazing, gripping. You will love it. Definitely pick this up if you are an avid romance reader or you're someone who you think will get into romance more than the other genres. I think this will really change your life. The next book is Beach Read by Emily Henry, and this is kind of similar to the last one, but with like a lot less magic element and a lot more like real reality, not everything's perfect element. Emily Henry does an amazing job at writing cute romance stories, but she kind of always puts in like a real raw element that love isn't always perfect, life isn't always perfect, so it makes her books so relatable and so gripping because they feel so close to your heart. This is about two authors who write completely different genres. They end up staying in neighbouring summer houses and they are both having a writer's block situation. They make a pact to swap genres and see if they could write it better than the other person, and to see if getting a new perspective gives them a clean slate so they can write their genres again without the block. They end up taking each other on excursions to kind of explore the different genres and get each other into it, to learn about it, and within those excursions, or little dates if you want to call them, they end up realising they kind of like each other more than they thought. This is such a touching book about learning how to love again. It's the perfect summer read. I know lots of people tend to start reading romance books in the summer because it just kind of gives that vibe. This would be perfect if that's what you want to do. But yeah, next is two books I believe to be quite similar. They're not exactly the same, but I'm going to talk about them at the same time anyway. They are both childhood best friend to lover stories, and each book has a dual timeline from then and now, the past and the present. This book follows two best friends who literally grew up together, did everything together. However, one night changed everything. Macy, the female main character, feels absolutely betrayed by Elliot, the male main character, and they end up not speaking for 10 years. And then in the present timeline, they end up stumbling upon each other again. They've got completely different lives now, but they end up kind of rekindling and talking about what went wrong. This book was one of my starter books into the romance genre. I think it's such a good starter. It has a plot twist in it which will have you gasping. It has such cute moments. It has sad moments. It has just everything in it that you could possibly want. Highly recommend. Now, One Last Shot is very similar. This follows Emerson, a supermodel who gets a notification on her phone one day for a marriage pact that she completely forgot she made with her teenage best friend, Theo. She realises from that notification she can rekindle the only relationship that's ever mattered to her. So Emerson somehow convinces her grumpy agent to send her on the shoot that Theo is shooting for. The shoot ends up being in Italy, the most romantic place, and Emerson thinks this is perfect. But when she gets there, Theo isn't as happy to see her as she thought he would be. This book was honestly one of my favourite books I read last year. It's again a dual timeline, just like Love and Other Words. It shows you how they became friends and like all their trials and tribulations growing up together, and it kind of dabbles on why they weren't friends anymore. And then in the present day, you see them try and rekindle their relationship, all their differences now, talk through everything that happened, and it's just so cute and so amazing. And once again, the setting is perfect if you want to read this book in the summer. The next couple books are some fantasy / romantasy books, which I think are great starter books which will hook you onto the genre. First, we have a reader's favourite, A Court in Thorns and Roses, and you've probably seen this spiralling around everywhere, and I will honestly say to you, it is so worth the read. I honestly read this book in one sitting. It was addictive, and don't even get me started on the rest of the series. It's even better than this one. Lots of people call this one the prologue to the rest of the series, and I can see why. This follows Feyre, a huntress who ends up killing the wrong wolf. She ends up getting kidnapped by a high fae lord, and her feelings start burning through everything she was warned about his kind. This sort of fantasy book is great for a starter because it's not too complicated, it's not too long, it's very easy to follow, it's really exciting, the tension is sizzling within this book, it's just everything, and I think you'll really love it. Next is To Kill a Kingdom, which is such an underrated but effective fantasy book. This book is literal perfection. It's slow burn, enemies to lovers, it's between a siren and a siren killer. There's so much betrayal, so much tension in this book. It's literally so good. It follows Lyra, who is siren royalty, and she gets cursed to become human by her evil queen mother. She is tasked to deliver the heart of the infamous siren killer, or remain human for the rest of her life. Prince Elian is the siren killer, and one day on his travels he rescues a drowning woman who promises him she can destroy siren kind for good, but how does he know he can trust her? This book is one of my favourites because it's such Pirates of the Caribbean vibes. Also, it's like the kind of enemies to lovers where one of them doesn't even know they're enemies, so it makes everything 10 times more tense. Okay, so the next two novels I would say are contemporary fictional novels rather than like romance, fantasy or mystery. And the first one is Before Your Memory Fades, and this is the third book I believe in Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, but you can honestly read them in any order. I will always recommend this book if you're someone who is getting into reading because of how short it is so easy to read. This book, or this book series, is about a cafe in Japan where there is a seat, and if you sit in the seat you can travel to the past. However, there is a couple rules. You can't move from the seat, whoever you meet in the past has to have been to the cafe that this chair is in, and you can't change anything in the past. And this book and the other books in the series are just collections of stories of people who have gone to the sea and the reasons why. It's honestly the most heartfelt, incredible, beautifully written book I've ever read. It hooked me so instantly and it made me want to read the rest of the series like that. It will have you smiling, it will have you giggling, it will probably also have you crying. The ending of this book had me shook. It was just incredible and I highly recommend it. Next is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo, and this is the type of book where you get so connected to the characters because they almost feel real. This book follows Hollywood icon Evelyn Hugo, and she was a massive Hollywood star in the 50s. However, in present day, no one's heard from her in years, but she rings up a journalist to come interview her for the first time. Here we learn all about her life, all about her 7 husbands and what really went down. I'm an absolute lover for like the 50s, like Hollywood era, so this was such a good, satisfying read for me. I love all the glamour, but then also there's all the secrets and the darkness underneath it all. It honestly feels like you're reading an autobiography of someone who was really there, because all the events that happen, I can believe really happened to real people in real life, because it's so toxic in that environment underneath all the glamour. This book is also so hooking because, as I said, it makes you feel like it's real. It has like newspaper clippings for events that happen within the book, which again reinforces it feels so real. You fall in love with Evelyn and her life story so fast. There's a plot twist near the end of the book which will have you on the edge of your seat. I will always recommend this book to everyone because it's perfection in my eyes. And now moving on to the last genre I'm going to talk about, and that is mystery thriller books. Books that I believe will have you absolutely hooked, and I promise you, you will devour these in one sitting. I've probably read over 10 Lisa Jewell books and I would recommend every single one. However, I know that can be quite overwhelming, especially if you're just getting into reading, so I've narrowed down my top 2. The reason I love Lisa's books so much is because they're so easy to read. The words are quite big in there and the chapters are so short, so it becomes so easy to read, and each of her chapters are always a different perspective of a different character, so it mostly ends on cliffhangers for each one, so you just want to keep reading through each chapter to get back to one of the characters, and you just end up reading it so quick, and before you know it, you're done. So the first book is I Found You, and this is one of my favorites because it's one of the ones I had no idea where it was going. I feel like most mystery thriller books you can kind of gauge where it's going by like towards the end, but this one I had absolutely no idea. It took a turn which I could not have predicted at all. This book follows 2 women, 20 years of secrets, and a man who doesn't remember anything. Or does he? This is between a different perspective for different people. One of the main perspectives is Alice, and she is a woman who finds this man out on the beach in front of her house. He has no name, nothing to identify him, and he has no idea what he's doing there or who he is. And against her better judgment, she invites him inside her house. But how can she trust a man who claims he has no memory? Then in another perspective, you have a woman whose husband who's just gone missing, and she has no idea where he's gone. But the thing is, she hasn't known him that long. She's only been married to him for a couple months and didn't really know him before that. So who really is the man she married? Like I said, this book had me so confused. I thought it was going to go one direction, then it ended up going another. It ended up being so much darker than I originally expected. One I will always recommend. The next Lisa Jewell book is None of This Is True, and likewise with all the rest of her books, this was so easy to read. However, it's written in a bit of a different format than her previous books. It is written in 3 different ways: a podcast format, a perspective format, and a true crime show format. And it is about 2 very different women who meet at a pub, and they end up finding out they are birthday twins. They end up meeting again by chance a couple days later, and one of these women is a podcaster, and she invites the other one to be on her podcast because she thinks it could be quite an interesting section, because what are the odds that they meet and they've got the same birthday, then they meet again. Josie, who is the one that appears on the podcast, has a very complicated and strange life, and Alex, the podcaster, really feeds into this and just can't help but know more about her. It soon becomes apparent that Josie is holding some very dark secrets, and before Alex knows it, Josie has intertwined into Alex's personal life. This book is so sick and twisted, but honestly, you cannot stop reading it because you want to know what happens. You're so confused at everything. One character seems normal, but then they're not. Everyone's holding a secret. It's honestly so addictive. I truly believe this book will have you absolutely hooked on the thriller genre. Next is The Close by Jane Casey, and this is such an underrated one. I've honestly never really heard anyone talk about this, but it is so hooking. This is kind of like a whodunit in the neighborhood kind of book, so it's so easy to read. This follows 2 detectives who are sent into a perfect neighborhood to live undercover to uncover a deadly conspiracy. While they are gathering the evidence they need for this conspiracy that they're investigating, they don't realize that there's a true threat right in front of their faces, as someone in this neighborhood has murder on their mind. I think this book is written brilliantly. It's from so many different perspectives. You got perspectives of the people living in the neighborhood, you got the perspective of the detectives living together, and you also unexpectedly have a short perspective of the murderer, which I think is so different and also so sick and twisted when you read into it. When you're seeing all these different perspectives and all these different neighbours, you're trying to figure out which one it could be, and you think you know which one it is, and then another one does something a bit dodgy and you're like, oh my god, what's happening? And another thing I absolutely love about this book, which is so different within a thriller and mystery book, is it has a bit of a romance sideline. The two detectives that are living together have like a little bit of like a spark between them, so that's explored a little bit in this book, which is really strange for a thriller because usually you just get the thriller, no side plots. But yeah, this book is sinister, the plot twists are shocking, and it will have you on the edge of your seat. And the last book I'm going to recommend today is such an easy read in my opinion. It is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This is quite a popular one, and I do believe if you're just stepping into like reading and everything, this book would be perfect. It's very easy to follow, not that long, the chapters are really short, and it has you really hooked from the first page. This book follows Millie, who is desperate in need for a job, and she finds one as a housemaid for a perfect rich family. This job entails living in the house, cooking, cleaning, picking the kid up from school, which she does. She quickly realizes things are far from normal in this family. She tries to ignore that Nina, the woman of the house, makes little messes for her to clean up, lies about her daughter, and the fact that her husband seems more sad and sad every day. Millie finds it hard not to imagine how perfect her life would be if she was in Nina's place though. One day she ends up trying on one of Nina's dresses and Nina finds out, and by the time Millie realizes her bedroom only locks from the outside, it's too late. But she's not afraid because the Winchester family has no idea who she really is. The best way I can describe this book is no one's perfect. Everyone has a secret. There is a twist in every character. Honestly, it keeps you guessing. Most of the time when reading this book, you think, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. I've already guessed it. But then it takes a turn and you're completely thrown off track. This is also being turned into a movie soon, but I would honestly say please read the book before the film. It will hook you so fast and you will love it. Compared to the other thriller books that I recommended, this is quite a soft like entry into the genre, but so effective. So if you're someone who's never even like stepped foot in this genre before, maybe start with this one. I truly think you'll be thanking me later. That is all the books I have to recommend. I really hope this video was helpful. Please feel free to leave your own recommendations in the comments for the people who need help stepping into the reading world. I'm sure they'll really appreciate it because, as I said, I had so many different messages, so it's obviously something a multitude of people are struggling with. Reading is honestly the best thing in the world, and once you step into it, it'll be really hard to step back out again. You've just got to find what you like and what your niche is within it. If you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new here, and I will see you in my next video.